Today, we're talking about one of my favorite things to grow in the garden: juicy, delicious tomatoes. We'll cover everything from picking the right varieties to planting, watering, and keeping those pesky pests away. Also, hang around to the end for some of my tried and true hacks. Now grab your gardening gloves and let's get started. First, let's talk about choosing the right tomato varieties for your garden. If you're new to this whole gardening thing, I always recommend starting with heirloom tomatoes or cherry tomatoes. They're like the sweet and friendly Labrador puppies of the tomato world, not too fussy and always a joy to have around. Plus, they're super tasty. Heirloom tomatoes come in the most beautiful shapes and colors, and they've got so much flavor. Cherry tomatoes, on the other hand, are like those friends who always make you smile. Small but mighty, bursting with sweetness. The important thing is to choose varieties that you know you'll love to eat and that will thrive in your climate. Do a little research, talk to your local nursery folks, and don't be afraid to experiment. All right, now that you've picked out your tomato varieties, let's find them the perfect spot in your garden. Tomatoes, y'all, they're like little sun worshippers. They crave that warm sunshine to grow big and strong. When you're choosing a spot for your tomatoes, make sure it gets at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight every day. Now, if you're working with a smaller space or maybe you just don't have a traditional backyard, don't you worry one bit. Container gardening is a fantastic option for tomatoes. Just choose a nice big pot that's at least 12 inches wide and deep to give those roots plenty of room to stretch out. Remember, a happy tomato is a sunny tomato. So find that perfect sunny spot and let's get those plants in the ground. Now let's talk about everyone's favorite subject, dirt. I know, it's not the most glamorous part of gardening, but trust me, when it comes to growing healthy, productive tomato plants, the soil is where it all begins. Tomatoes, they're kind of like hungry teenagers. They need lots of nutrients to grow big and strong, so we want to make sure we're giving them the best possible foundation. Before you plant your tomatoes, take some time to prepare the soil. Start by removing any weeds or grass, and then loosen the soil with a garden fork or tiller. Now here's a little secret to give your tomatoes a boost. Mix in some compost or well-rotted manure. Tomatoes prefer slightly acidic soil, so aim for a pH of around 6.0 to 6.8. You can pick up a soil testing kit at your local garden center to check the pH of your soil. If it's a little off, don't worry. You can adjust it with some amendments. For example, you can add lime to raise the pH or sulfur to lower it. Organic matter like peat moss can also help balance the soil. All right, y'all, let's talk about watering. Now, water is essential for life, right? Well, it's especially important for our tomato plants. But just like with most things in life, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. When it comes to watering tomatoes, the key is to be consistent and to water deeply, but not too frequently. Stick your finger about an inch into the soil. If it feels dry, it's time to water. Now, when you water your tomatoes, try to water at the base of the plant, avoiding the leaves. This helps prevent diseases from spreading. And water slowly and deeply, allowing the water to soak all the way down to the roots. A good deep watering once or twice a week is usually sufficient, but you might need to water more often if you live in a particularly hot or dry climate. All right. Now that our tomato plants are settled into their sunny spot with happy, well-fed roots, let's talk about giving them a little extra support. As your tomato plants grow taller and start to produce those beautiful fruits, they're gonna need a little help staying upright. Trust me, the last thing you want is a tomato plant sprawled all over the ground, looking like it just can't even. There are a couple of ways you can support your tomato plants. One option is to use stakes. You can use wooden stakes, bamboo stakes, or even metal stakes. Just drive the stake into the ground about a foot away from the plant, and then gently tie the main stem of the plant to the stake using some soft twine or garden tape. Another option is to use tomato cages. These are great for larger tomato varieties, as they provide more support. Supporting your tomato plants not only helps them stay upright, but it also improves air circulation, which can help prevent diseases. Plus, it makes harvesting those juicy tomatoes so much easier. Now comes the exciting part, y'all, planting time. We're finally getting those tomato babies in the ground where they belong. But before we do, let's talk about how to plant them for maximum growth and productivity. Tomatoes, they're a little different from some other plants. They have this amazing ability to grow roots all along their stems. So, when you're planting your tomato seedlings, we're going to plant them deep. Deep enough to bury those lower leaves and part of the stem. Before you plant, gently remove the lower leaves from the stem, leaving only the top few sets of leaves. Then, dig a hole deep enough to bury the stem up to the first set of true leaves. Place the seedling in the hole and gently backfill with soil, making sure to firm the soil around the base of the plant. This might seem a little counterintuitive, but trust me, it's going to give your tomato plants a super strong foundation and encourage more root growth. Y'all, timing is everything in life, and it's especially important when it comes to planting tomatoes. Now, tomatoes are warm season crops, which means they love that warm sunshine and can't handle a lick of frost. The exact timing for planting tomatoes is going to vary depending on where you live and your local climate. But as a general rule of thumb, you'll want to start your tomato seeds indoors about 6 to 8 weeks before the last expected frost in your area. Once the danger of frost has passed and the soil has warmed up, it's time to transplant those seedlings outside. All right, y'all, let's talk about those pesky critters and diseases that can sometimes plague our tomato plants. Now, don't let this scare you off. With a little vigilance and some natural preventatives, you can keep those problems at bay and enjoy a healthy harvest. First things first, keep a close eye on your plants. Regularly inspect the leaves, stems, and fruits for any signs of pests or diseases. Early detection is key when it comes to treating these issues effectively. One of the best ways to prevent pests and diseases is to keep your garden clean and tidy. Remove any fallen leaves or debris, as these can harbor pests and diseases, and make sure you're not overcrowding your plants. Good air circulation is crucial for preventing fungal diseases. Now, if you do notice some unwanted visitors on your tomato plants, don't panic. There are plenty of natural and organic pest control methods you can use. Planting marigolds near your tomatoes can help repel pests. Neem oil is another great organic option to keep those critters away. You can also make a garlic spray to deter pests naturally. Well, folks, we've made it to the best part, harvest time. After weeks of tending to your tomato plants, watering them, and maybe even talking to them a little, don't worry, your secret's safe with me. It's time to reap the rewards of all your hard work. Knowing when to harvest your tomatoes can be a little tricky, but here's a good rule of thumb. Look for tomatoes that are firm to the touch and have a rich, deep color. Once you've harvested your tomatoes, store them at room temperature. Avoid storing your tomatoes in the refrigerator, as this can actually affect their flavor and texture. Now that you've got a bounty of fresh, homegrown tomatoes, the possibilities are endless. You can enjoy them fresh in salads, sandwiches, and salsas. You can roast them, grill them, or turn them into delicious sauces, soups, and stews. Before we wrap things up, I wanted to share a few bonus tips to help you grow the most amazing tomatoes ever. These are little tricks of the trade that I've learned over the years, and I promise they'll make all the difference in your tomato game. First up, let's talk about pruning. Now, pruning your tomato plants might seem a little intimidating at first, but trust me, it's like giving them a haircut. It helps them grow healthier and produce more fruit. As your tomato plants grow, you'll notice little shoots or suckers growing out from the joint where the stem and a branch meet. These suckers are basically energy vampires, diverting energy away from fruit production. So, we're going to pinch them off. To remove a sucker, simply pinch it off with your fingers or use a pair of pruning shears. And don't be afraid to prune back any leggy or overgrown branches. It'll encourage the plant to put its energy into growing those delicious tomatoes. These little tricks will make all the difference in your tomato game. Well, there you have it, folks. My tried and true tips for growing the most amazing tomatoes you've ever tasted. Remember, gardening is a journey, not a destination. It's about enjoying the process, learning from your mistakes, and celebrating those little victories along the way. And most importantly, don't forget to have fun. Get out there, get dirty, and grow something beautiful. Happy gardening!